Dummy Swish Pod. Your favorite rugby podcast is back. How are you, Chris?
Sir. Very well, thanks. How are you, Quarters?
Well, myself, but no URC to look forward to this weekend for me and my team. But alas, life moves on.
Yeah, look, moves on. But at least there's some pick me up in the Curry Cup this past weekend. For your boys, or for the union, let's put it that way. But some of the URC guys were there, so yeah, it's not all lost. They'll get there. But on the other side, it's a big one for my boys.
Yeah, they will get to that one later on. Failed to deliver in some parts, so it looks like up against the Bulls at home. But let's talk Curry Cup, Bulls versus Pumas. Ill discipline cost them in the end because clearly they were firing hotter than the Bulls.
Yeah. No, the Pumas, geez, they'll be mad at themselves. I mean, even at the end, they could have clinched.
They could have. They could have. And at that end, I just want to say something. As someone who has played hooker, I don't know why, game on the line, you would go for a riskier middle ball or back ball. You think you want to take it in the front and get secure possession. So I'll never understand that one myself.
Yeah, look, it's very difficult to put your finger on, because all they needed to do was just to keep it basic, and even right there, the death, that chip by Louis Fisher, by Eddie Fisher,
Yeah, that one also.
I just don't understand.
He was tired of playing.
Yeah, I just didn't get that, because it was like, look, all they needed was patience, because they've got the strike runners to punish the Bulls, and they did. I mean, that winger, I can't remember his name, the right winger, he was hot. Sebastian de Klerk, he was hot. Oh man, and just the desire, the hunger, and the way that the Pumas play, outside of the discipline, they were full value for money, in terms of their performance. But then again, the blue machine, the structures, they came through for them at the end, of course, because they had a man extra, in that case, looking at the scoreline, so Pumas will be very mad at themselves, and making it difficult to get into the top four, but maybe still doable.
It was theirs. It was in their hands, but I think it was just too. Sometimes intensity turned too much up, turns into ill discipline. But some other guys who were very intense this weekend were Griquas versus Cheetahs. This one, it looked like the Cheetahs it was one of those things where they just thought, we turn up, we come collect the points, and we go home. So they were physically there, but they weren't there. Really,
they were not there. They were not there. They were not there. Barring, look, okay, you always see the good touches from certain players, but as a collective in the pack, that Griquas pack they were hungry.
They were lazy. The Cheetahs pack were lazy. They were lazy.
Yeah. The guys even, people spitting in faces, apparently, allegedly, so,
that was poor.
You must know then that you've been beaten, and the only thing you can do is just, is a below the belt. It's alleged because we didn't see it on footage, but they were bullied. That's the thing. That's the word, actually. They were absolutely bullied by the Griquas, and they didn't have an answer, And at the same time, for the Cheetahs, I think it's a reality check, especially going into the last few rounds, considering that they have a point to prove as well, just as a franchise. So, I think that's a very difficult one to take against the little brother.
Yeah, and I think Francois Steyn is injured as well, so that's not that you lost twice there. You lost, and then now Francois Steyn's missing. Masuku was still good, but like you said, it was just touches. But Griquas were just more. It's like Obi. Obi was having a game. He was really having a game. The two centers as well. Obi was like, you know, when you're playing and you're almost, it looks like they were like, why are you playing so hard? You know, that one where he went over Ron Pina, it's like, why are you playing so hard? You know?
Yeah. Geez, Luther Obi was just, I think that whole team, you know, the way that they kept the ball alive, the intensity at which they were attacking, you know, Amlashe stands out for me, you know, that he actually is the catalyst, you know, because he showed them the way that this is how we're going to beat these guys. You know, we're going to just run good lines and, you know, powerful and finish. And the Griquas were just, they were finishing, you know, they were finishing every chance they got, they're finishing and, you know, rubbing the Cheetahs' heads in the dirt. And deservedly so, because the Cheetahs just didn't turn up.
Yeah, not great for the Cheetahs there. Lions, Western Province. The only takeaway from this game, from my standpoint, is that Tian Swanepoel, he's put his hand up and said, I've got something to say. You know, I'm still here. Yeah. It was sort of a signature game from him, where he's had these type of games before, but it's like a reminder of, guys, there's other fly halves at this union. And Gianni Lombard is coming back. He's coming back to Joburg. So we're going to see what's going to happen there between 10 and 15 and who's going to fit in where, because, I mean, Q and Horn's been playing well. Yeah. So is a lot of players to choose from.
Yeah. And look, it has to be said that all of a sudden, the Lions team, you know, well, it's a little too late in the Currie Cup, but the team that they put out, they looked more in control and looked more clear in terms of what they were trying to achieve, you know, in terms of keeping the ball. They limited the areas, they brought the physicality, you know, and they're actually using what they've got, you know, and it's almost like they're getting to that point where at some point they're going to really come of age, you know, and mature as a group, and hopefully that translates going forward. But, you know, I think at the moment they need to be worried about relegation. But if there's going to be playoff matches, then, you know, then I don't think they'll be too worried. But I think it's, you know, if you're Lions supporter, you're quietly optimistic, because it seemingly looks like they're fixing their personnel issues, you know, and the young forwards that they have, they're starting to, it's almost like they're starting to become comfortable at that level. You know, Sangweni was big, you know, Chituka, you know, the younger Chituka, his carries made a difference, you know. I thought Nohamba as well, his control at the base, even though, you know, I think he's still learning the guys that are around him. But man, quietly they're building something again, you know, or you'd hope that they are. And if they can continue to fix up their recruitment and get the right guys in there, I think there'll be...
The problem I have is that you've got Strawley coming out in the media and saying that players are receiving offers from, like, let's say, a Sharks team, and Strawley saying we're matching their offer, you know. But I mean, matching an offer doesn't necessarily show intent that, you know, it's just the matching of an offer. It's not going above and beyond. And what he's saying is now that Sharks are telling players like, okay, we'll give you even more and we'll give you this under the table. Just don't tell them, so that they can't match what we're giving you. But my thing is also, like, Rock Nation is doing things for players outside of the game as well. What does the Lions, as a rugby union, what can you give someone that's in his bulk years? What can you give a Similani? What can you give a Chituka, besides just matching a salary that they can get at any of the 4 unions? You know, so that recruitment thing, a bit of an issue for me, but
completely agree. You know, and you talk about Similani, I actually feel he looks, how can I say, he just, as much as you can see he's trying, you can see the effort, you know, but he just doesn't look excited. and not excited in the sense that, there's nothing happening for him at the Lions. He's just playing, and he's still good, yes, but he's just playing, and
yeah.
If I was the Lions, I'd be worried because you could easily see a Similane fitting into a Western Province backline.
No, that guy. Similani's gone. That's why they're playing Van Wyk at 13. He's out the door already. But what is it? Two more rounds of Currie Cup left. We'll see how things go. I think Western Province might be the next team to fall down to the Griquas, and if Cheetahs don't pick up their pace against another team, the intensity of the Pumas, then it could be another same situation back to back.
Yeah, I think this coming weekend, this round of Currie Cup, Griquas and Pumas have everything to play for. That's what is making this Currie Cup so interesting, because Griquas are they're third on the log, I believe. Last time I checked, and Pumas, they can still get in there and sneak in there, and they need to win 2 more games, and those 2 games are going to be the toughest games that they'll play, because they play Cheetahs next, and after that they'll have the Griquas, and that's away and home. And geez, if the Griquas can pull in another performance against Province, it's going to be a fascinating finish to see where these guys end up in the Currie Cup.
Yeah, let's talk some URC now. We've got it split, where you've got Bulls and Sharks on one side, and you've got Stormers on the other side of the South African franchises. And unfortunately, it is the Bulls versus the Sharks. Sharks couldn't get it done when it mattered. And you know what? That Ulster game was infuriating to watch. And I'm not even a Sharks supporter, but they just couldn't get points on the board. They were doing everything right, but they just couldn't get points on the board. They couldn't finish. Mapimpi was having his opposite number, having that guy all day long. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's like, that's what you get if you can't put points on the board.
Yes. And putting the points through the penalty pressure, and again, number 10 comes into the picture where, a lot of it, I felt, to convert that pressure into points, lacked their 10, and even the 10 doesn't look confident, and look, going into this knockout, Bulls against Sharks, honestly speaking, the way the Bulls, it's better for South African rugby if the Bulls make it through, at right now, because it'll be great if the Sharks beat the Bulls and get through, but if they do that, I don't see them even getting further, because they're just not settled. They
9 and 10. 9 and 10, you've got Grant Williams, who comes on and just takes over the game. And you've got Buta Chamberlain there, who we know can get the job done. So ahead of this game, do you drop your 9 and 10? And also, they've signed Lionel Cronje, who I don't necessarily think is the answer.
It's not the answer. It's not the answer, because now you've got Lionel Cronje, you've got Bonilla there, you've got Bosch maybe going, but you still have him there. You have Buta Chamberlain. The thing is, you have to get you got to get your premier guy in there. You have to get and on the balance. Of
it's like that thing. If you have more than one fly half, you have no fly halves.
Yeah, you don't.
You have to have that guy.
Who's the guy? And that's why I said they're not settled, and for me it goes back up to the coaching group, because I think for what the Sharks are trying to do and trying to build, I think the coaches that they have right now, they've done a good job. Yes, take my hat off to them, but to get to that level where you next year's Champions Cup, where you're contending against the Toulouse teams, the Racing 92s and whatnot, you need there needs to be a different personality, a bigger personality that understands, really how to make the tough decisions, because it just seems like there's a lot of sentiment around Kern Bosch, but he's not at the moment. He hasn't been the guy. Bootsa Chamberlain has been more of the guy and needed to be backed. And yes, I would drop my 10 and put Bootsa Chamberlain in there.
I don't think they have. I think it's too friendlier an environment. It's not. You think of harsh calls have to be made.
Yeah.
There's coaches that make harsh calls, like a Jake White will make a harsh call. I don't think it's the environment where you're gonna get. Speaking of Jake White, the Bulls team, in the end, I think they get the job done simply because that's what they're known for. That's their brand. Is we get the job done. Whether it's Curry Cup, URC, we get the job done.
Yeah, that's what they do, and you just expect more of the same. And we saw that when they went overseas, so they know how to win anyway at the moment. They're in that space, and that's why I say it'll be better for South African rugby if the Bulls are the ones. As much as it hurts to say that, I still back my team. Yes, it can be upset, but you have to be realistic. It's the way that things look. But 2 weeks, 3 weeks out is a long time in rugby. And a lot can change. But on what we've seen, I believe it will be the end of the road for the Sharks. Be a good game, definitely. But
Cornell Hendricks was firing last round of play that they had. So
experience. That experience. I mean, look at that whole Bulls. That Bulls setup is stacked. Stacked to the rafters. Everywhere you look. And everybody knows what they need to do. I mean, you saw it was who's that? Ron Steenkamp, what's his name? The lock that made his debut in Curry Cup. He scored a try, but the way that the try was scored, it's his debut, but it's like, look, he's been there for years. I mean, it's the same. Physical, is running that hard line. So, yeah. And at the moment, the Sharks, as much as they have their identity, they've got the pack. It hasn't clicked for them because there's some missing pieces that are not together. And at the moment, they'll suffer for that. But I think, they'll learn and come back to fight another day.
I think Fassi as well. I don't think he had a not great form. I don't think he had a good game against Ulster as well.
Look. The touches will always be there, with him. Not saying
but defensively, you got brushed off. I think when that center went straight through, he got brushed off, taking him high. So I'm not too big on Fassi at the moment.
I believe, just before we even talk about the Stormers, I believe even these last few weeks of rugby that we've been watching, even the last round of URC, and last 2 rounds of URC, I think we've seen why certain players, probably the last year they didn't get the Bok call-ups, that we thought they would get, and now building up into the Bok call-ups, you are seeing some sort of frailties that a team like Wales coming down here can expose. Because they'll be dangerous as much as some people are writing them off, so the Springbok squad may not be as cut and dry as we think based on the form that we see in the URC. I think there'll be other things, and like you say, things like that. At test level, you can't be brushed off, so still a lot to learn.
Yeah, let's talk the other side now. You've got Stormers versus Edinburgh. I think Stormers get through on this one. I think Edinburgh, they are a dangerous side. They do play at a tempo, and they do play clever rugby, sneaky rugby. They're also known to get the job done. But I think Stormers win here. And just looking forward, there's Munster and Ulster who you've got to face going forward. I don't see the Stormers coming out of this side of the bracket into the final. I see maybe semis they lose out.
Yeah, look, it's a difficult one because the Stormers they have been very good, and they managed to sort of set the standard, overseas, and against a lot of expectation or from a lot of criticism, as well, because they weren't at that stage, they weren't playing well, but now
they've turned it around.
They managed to get their act together. At home, yes, against Edinburgh. I think if Edinburgh, they can play that tempo, but if they play that tempo, it'll suit the Stormers as well, because they like that. But what I appreciate about the Stormers is that because of the Mani Lebok, Damien Willems, again, if the guys get picked, but they've got a good kicking base, where they can play that kicking game if need be, and they showed that as well, is that they can play that game, and that's why you saw, talking about or linking it to the box, Damien Willems, so I can see that he's maturing, and he's the next guy. So Stormers, yes, to win. And as much as you say you got Munster, Leinster, was it Munster, Ulster, I still think if the Bulls and Stormers are the most likely of our teams to cause upsets, I think getting to the semi-final for any of our teams is a big achievement in the first go at the URC,
Yes.
But if they get there, why not go all the way, and they can do it, they can do it, and they can pull a surprise. But these guys, Munster, Ulster, Leinster, they've owned this trophy, amongst them, they know how to win that thing, so it won't be easy. It definitely will not be easy, but it'll be good for our guys, because it'll be a taste of tough rugby and going into the tests, and even just overall projecting it into the World Cup. This whole rugby situation has positioned South Africa nicely, so but that's all further down the line. But our guys can do it. They get through. Why not? Go all the way,
You're turning me into a believer. Maybe they make it. Maybe on first thoughts, I'm going Leinster to make it out of there, and maybe one of the other two teams from the other matches. But maybe let's see. I think after watching this, maybe I'm being pessimistic. But I think okay, after this weekend, we'll come back and review. We'll come back. We'll remeasure, reassess, and take steps from there.